Hello everyone. Um, haven't haven't had a lot of time to play with the tractors this week, but there is some things to report. So a little bit more progress on the Super Major, and a little bit of progress on the Standard Fordson, and also a few pictures of the thing I mentioned last week, which I said I'd been asked to do, and I wouldn't really give you any more clues. Well, actually, it was a film company got in touch with me and wanted some tractors for a film shoot out at Padstow, and it all relied on the weather really, but we did it. The weather was favourable. We had the 3 fine days we needed, and I guess it was successful. Anyway, I've got a few shots we took out there which you might find interesting, or you might wish you'd switched off. So I'll leave those to the end, and we'll just show you where we've got to with the tractors. Right, so here we are. We've got the Standard Fordson in there under the crane. Ian's just cleaning the wheels up to bolt this hub in. And we're going to put the tractor up onto the wheels, and hopefully we'll get it so that we can roll it backwards and forwards. This front axle that you can see at the moment is one I was using to carry it round there. And while I don't think for a minute that's going to be used on it, I do quite like the look of these big wheels, because they're bigger than a standard wheel and the bigger tyres, so I think it might finish up on with a similar sort of look to that. It's not a standard version, so not too worried about it. But anyway, this is before we do anything really, so I just thought I'd show you this. We're going to get the winch tractor in a minute and do some more to that, but we want to get this to roll it away, so that's the next project. So that was the start of day one. It was a lot of fiddly jobs really that we had to do, and I guess we made good progress really. Not quite as much as I'd hoped. We would have done more, but it was absolutely pouring in rain today, so we didn't get outside at all. We would like to have got the winch running, but we didn't. And but we're very, very close now, so I'm sure the next time I do a blog on the Super Major, we will have finished it. The Standard Fordson, I don't know. Let have a look. Right, so we've got our Standard Fordson on 4 wheels again. It's looking like a tractor now instead of a lump of scrap hanging off the end of the crane. And I know some are going to say still a load of scrap, but I can assure you, you will be wrong. So we didn't spend an awful lot of time on it. We got the shafts cleaned up on the sides where the wheels fit on, and fitted those on. We've still got to actually clamp them up. They come off quite easily at the moment. It's just a matter of get the geometry right on it, make sure it's sitting right. At the moment it's sitting back a bit, which I'm a bit puzzled about. But we've got a couple of options down on the front axle there, so I'm sure it'll be okay. Trouble is we can't ask Ticker, because Ticker's no longer with us, but he would know. So that's, we haven't spent an awful lot of time on that, as I say. Still thinking about it, planning what to do, and it's, you can keep changing your mind with things, and you think, well, surely you know first time. You don't, and it amazes me how many times I change my mind about things as I'm going along. Case in point being our winch tractor, which we got in. It's been awful day today, so we brought it into the workshop, and we were going to. Ian's very keen to get the winch going, and I said, well, let's get the tractor bit finished first. So we've done nearly everything on that now. We've got all the fiddly jobs done. We've got all the blanks in where the motor oil come out of it, and we've fitted the stop cable properly. Put a new tap in the fuel tank so we can switch that off. and I put the foot plates on. And they've turned out really good. I'm really pleased with them. They've taken a bit of making, but they look the part. They've got to be painted yet. I'm still debating about how to paint it, if I paint it at all. But they've definitely got to be painted, because if I don't, they're going to go rusty. So I put a step on it, really, because it needs one on a Super Major anyway. It's quite a single step, but it's okay. It's nice, and there's a little bit of spring in it, but it's not going to bend. I don't know if I can show you this without falling over, but there we go. And it's easy to step up on. I'm pleased with how it's worked out. You can get on it without any trouble at all. Maybe I want some grips on it, I don't know. At the moment, I'm not going to bother. We're just going to leave it like it is. I don't think it's not going to be used as in anger anymore, so it's not going to be out in a lot of mud and wet stuff, and if it is, just have to learn to be careful. So that's done. We found a handbrake to put on it. A good old one, actually. It's probably too old for this. This ought to be a push button one, and I might swap it back, but it's a really good lever one, so we'll see. That would be on a Power Major, but I think all the Super Majors have the push button one. That's it. We've put a different radiator on it. The other one leaked badly. This one's got a minor leak just at the top of the radiator, and it's nothing really, but it is definitely leaking. So we're either going to drop a bit of solder in there, or we'll use a good old rad weld. So we've got the tin off at the moment, but that'll be easy to put back on. But yeah, we're nearly there. We've put a starter on it now. There's still a wire up to do on that. I picked up a starter on eBay. It works, but it's a bit lazy. So we think it could be bad earths, but we'll try it. So we need one more session on it, and I think we're going to be there then. I've got the chain for the winch now. I've still got to play around with this seat. I'm now back thinking this seat might do us. It could do with being a bit higher, but I've changed the angle of the actual seat itself, and it's a lot more comfortable. So that seat will probably be staying, but I will raise it. So that's about it. That's for now, anyway. Okay. So that's tractor progress. I'm going out later on today. I'm going out hunting a few more bits out. I've got pretty well everything now for the Super Major, and I know I've got everything here for the standard Ford cylinder, most of it, but there's a few things I've still got to find. They were put away safely. Just got to find out where I put them away safely. Anyway, that's sort of finishes off the tractor thing. The other thing I mentioned was this event. I had a phone call at the beginning of the week, and it was a film company, and they wanted to hire 2 tractors and trailers for a scene in a film which was being filmed out at Padstow, and it was a up-to-date film, but they wanted older tractors. So we've got plenty of tractors here, so I said, well, come and have a look. So they came out and they had a look, and we picked out some pretty ones and some that had been used, and I said, well, I advised them what they'd be best to have, and then I got various trailers, and they picked out what they thought would be the best trailers. They picked the Ifor Williams, the triaxle Ifor Williams, which I said, well, actually that's not really a farm trailer, but it was more the height, because these actors had got to get on and off the trailer, and they'd got to be able to load the bales. So I said, well, do they know how to load bales, and do they know how to stack the bales when they get them on the trailer? And it was sort of well, we're having some bales specially made that are lightweight so that they can put them on the trailer. So I said, how are they going to do that then? So he said they were going to put polystyrene blocks in the middle of the bale. So I said, well, good luck with that then, because I just could not see how you could make a bale look like a bale if it hadn't come out of a baler. But he said, "Oh, you'd be surprised what these people can do." And I said, "Well, we'll wait and see." Phone call, hang on. Right, that was Mike Sterling, my technical director. Mike was with me when we were doing this filming, and he took some film of me actually doing some baling. And at the moment, I can't pick it up. If I manage to get it on there, I'll put it on the end of this blog. Anyway, going back to the bales, they were going to make these polystyrene scented bales to go on the trailer, and I really couldn't see how it could be done. But like I say, they said you'd be surprised what they can do. Well, I was surprised. I'll show you some pictures of their versions of a bale and our versions of a bale. But very good. Needless to say, they didn't get used, but that's okay. So I'll just show you the bales to start with, because it just amuses me. Okay, I've jumped on a bit there, really. We had to, this was all arranged to be over there, and it was going to be for Wednesday, Thursday and Friday of last week, and it was going to be fine weather, and the field hadn't been combined and it hadn't been baled, and there were so many things could have gone wrong. But actually the weather came right on Tuesday and started to dry up. It's dried up pretty good on Wednesday. They managed to cut the corn, but then they were let down with a baler, and they needed a baler. So I got the phone call, have I got a baler? And I said, well, I have, but I'm not going to get it going in 10 minutes. So I know Paul Bennett, my mate Paul, he's got a decent baler. So I gave him a call, and they weren't using it. So I said, well, can you come and bale some straw up for us? Because I could have gone over there and tried to do it myself, but I haven't baled properly, I reckon, for over 20 years. So I thought, let Paul do it. So he came over with his New Holland tractor and his baler, and he was going to need his tractor for doing something at home when we were doing it, but we could keep the baler. So that way we took my 5000 over, Ford 5000, and we put that on the baler. And we left 2 rows of straw in the middle of this piece, which you'll see in a minute, and that was for the action shot for the film where we would be baling, and I was quite happy doing a couple of rows. So we went there, we got there, we went over on the night before. We did the baling on the Thursday. We also got the load of straw out there. They were talking about putting my 5000 onto the Ife Williams trailer. I wasn't happy with that. I said that's totally out of scale. So I said we'll bring along something that's a bit more suitable, and they was sort of saying, well, we've got a budget, we can't go over the budget. So I said, we don't worry about that. Anyway, Colin had got the 135 back at his house in St Mary, but it's only the next village. So I rang Colin and I said, can you bring the 135 over? So, because he was up for it. So along came Colin with the 135. Well, we'd already got I took my Nuffield over there, and I got the Nuffield hitched onto the Massey Ferguson trailer, and we put the 135 on the Ife Williams. And then Colin drove the Nuffield while we chucked half a load of bales on, so we were all set ready for the following morning. I'll show you a bit more film. come the day, we got to be there 7:30 in the morning, ready to start shooting. And I'm thinking, Christ, 7:30, and they want to be baling straw, but it wasn't quite like that. Anyway, went along 7:30, went down to the tractors, made sure they were all okay, back up to the top, and breakfast time, and they were there, and they got their refreshment van and had a full English breakfast and a bit of toast, and we were set for the day. So they said, okay, location now. So then we all marched to the location, and you think it's going to be, 4 or 5 people. Not a chance. There was 35 people in that field, and they were all busy doing something. There was production and makeup and continuity and all these different things, and it was interesting. And then, of course, Mike and I were there as the tractor drivers, thinking, how on earth are we going to drive 3 tractors? Well, we didn't worry, because for the majority of the day, if we moved the tractors, I think the furthest we shifted anything was 10 yards. Once we got it set, we set them up in the morning for their shoots, and we had to shift the to line them up a bit better, we shifted them back 10 yards. We did have to go and put some bales on the Ife Williams trailer to make that look better. And so they stuck a golf tee in the ground and said, can you park by that when you've loaded the bales? Well, imagine trying to find a golf tee in a field of stubble. Anyway, we did. We marked it a little bit better than that and brought it back, and that was it. And we sat and we watched and we waited, and it was the same scene time and time again, really. And all these people around, and then along comes a chap that had got a nice bloke, but he got a very, very funny walk. I made sure which way I was facing while we were talking to him, and he got a box of sandwiches, and he'd bring around sandwiches and crisps and bars of chocolate, and you could have put on 2 stone. Then it was all, it was all good stuff. So that was refreshments, and then drinks came round, and teas and juices and stuff like that. Then they called lunch, and off we go up to lunch. It was mackerel, and you could have mackerel or ham, and salad and new potatoes. It was all very nice, apart from the fact these bloody awful wooden knives and forks, which I can't stand. But, it was a free meal. So then it's back down to shooting again, and we were there, and, it's definitely going to be finished by 5:30. Well, then they're talking about 6:30, and then they're talking about 7:30, and we'd still got to clear the field. Once we'd finished, we'd got to pick these bales up. So it was, oh my God, what time we're going to be done here? And there's 500 bales all laid out singly. Anyway, it didn't matter. So they sort of finished the shoot, and everybody was a bit vague about it, and then they wanted a shot of an action shot. And I think, yeah, here we go. Anyway, the action shot was me bailing. They wanted, and this was going to be for the introduction to the programme. And this programme, if you ever want to see it, you'll have to be on holiday in Germany on a Sunday at 8 o'clock next year, because that's when it's going to be shown. And it was all done in German, although we didn't hear a lot of that because that was the actors talking in that. It was all everything about the shooting was in England, but it was a Rosamund Pilcher film, and apparently they go mad on it. And it's all about Cornwall. They've done 30 or 40 films in Cornwall, and they're over the moon for it. They love it. So yeah, it was good. So I'll show you my little moment of glory. But I know full well I'm not in that at all. They wouldn't have it. We did get the costume people come round to both Mike and I, and they said, look, you could be in a shot. We'd like you to dress appropriately. They didn't want to see. I'd got a Irish rugby shirt on, and Mike, can't think what Mike had got on, but they gave me a body warmer thing to start with, and I said, I don't think I'm going to get into that. And she looked at it, and because it was small, and she said, no, I don't think you are. So she gave me a jumper then, this woolen jumper, which was, typical harvesting clothing, isn't it? Well, I got it over my head. as soon as I tried to push my arm down the sleeve, there was no way that was going down there. So we withdrew that. She said, "No, you'll be all right. You'll be all right with the existing clothes on." So that was fine. So when they did the filming, you could tell by that what they wanted was a straw going into the baler, and the baler itself. You didn't actually see the driver. But yeah, so that was it. So we finished the filming, and son-in-law PJ came over, and we had both tractors and trailers running backwards and forwards with bales. We took them from where we were filming up to the next farm and put them in a barn there. It didn't take long at all. We didn't put big loads on. We just threw on 3 or 4 layers so that we could go up the road without having to worry about roping them down, and it was good. I actually, one of the forks they got there was a bale fork. They didn't know it, but it was a bale fork, and if I was carrying bales, especially straw, I always used a fork, and because I bagged this fork, and I found it quite easy with that. But they'd got some stuff out there you'd never see in a, well, when they were fluffing up the straw, I mean, Christ, when I got to that with a baler, there was no way I was going through it, because it was heaps of stuff, and I thought, I'm going to have a shear bolt go, which is why, if you see me baling, you'll see me pull out of the row. So I only did perhaps 200 yards of baling, and that was the action for the day. But I've got to say, the pay was very good, and they fed us well. So, and it's an experience. I enjoyed it, but if I had to do it every day, Christ, it's like watching paint dry. I know we did find some, we found some decent chairs. They just happened to be the actors' chairs, but they weren't going to throw us out of them. We didn't hog them all day, but we just had a comfortable sit down, because a bale's comfortable, but when you've had 4 hours sat on it, you get a bit fed up with it. Anyway, that sort of sums it up, really. That's where it is. I've got that bit of film. I'll show you that now, and then we'll look forward to doing the next blog directly.
O 20 palete ne sen ne ya
So there you go. There was 10 of those bales, and they're for sale if anybody wants them. There was that filming. There was 35 people I counted. There was food vans, makeup vans, toilets. There must have been 20 vans in the field. 3 tractors, 2 trailers, a baler. Carrying the bales, there was 500 bales, and the total amount in that film, when it's finished, will be 3.5 minutes. Work that out. This is I think it's an hour program when they finish it. So you imagine the work and people that go into it, and where the cost runs away. Crazy. But you can be assured that this little film hasn't cost anything like as much as that. But if anybody'd like to buy the rights to it, I'd sell it for a lot cheaper than that. Okay, well, that really is it for now. I'm just going to show you a quick shot of the Invicta badge that I mentioned in the last blog. And then there'll be a little reminder on the end, which I can tell you is on the 16th and 17th of September. And you'll really enjoy it. So that's it. See you on the next blog. Cheers.